Good morning and welcome to the College of Forestry, Ag, and Natural Resources here at University of Arkansas at Monticello. Great pleasure to host y'all this morning. I'm Michael Blazier. I'm the Dean of the College of Forestry, Ag, and Natural Resources here. But before beginning our session here, wanted to take a moment to allow our Chancellor, Ms. Peggy Doss, our Dr. Doss, to call us to order here.
Thank you, Dr. Blazier. Well, good morning, everyone. So good to see all of you here today. We're especially thrilled today to be able to host this event for Senator Boozman, and we're so pleased to have Congressman Westerman with us as well today. These two gentlemen are such strong supporters of everything that we do in our agriculture and forestry area, and particularly just generally across the university as a whole. So I want to thank you so much for your support, and thank you for choosing Monticello and UAM to host this event today, where we also have distinguished members of our Farm Bureau Association that's here today, our board members, and we're so glad to have you with us. We look forward to this opportunity for our producers and those here today to be able to not only listen and hear what's going on with our farm bill, but also to have some responses to that. So in just a moment, Dr. Blazier is going to share with you some of the things that's going on here in the College of Forestry, Ag, and Natural Resources. But before he does that, I just want to say that we are up and moving at UAM. We're trying to do a lot of projects, not only to attract new students, but to capitalize on the wonderful programs that we have here. I'm interested, how many of you in this room are a UAM graduate? Look at that. And I know some of these folks I've known Jodan Greenwood for a long, long time. And I can tell you how successful they've been over the years, and people in this room that have gone out and done wonderful things in your careers, and you've represented this university so extraordinarily well, and we're so proud of you. We have unbelievable instructors and faculty here at this campus, and particularly in the College of Forestry, Ag, and Natural Resources, that make sure that our students go out well prepared for the industry and meeting the needs of agriculture and forestry, and the research that's going on is phenomenal. We're also happy to tell you that the building that you're in today, and some of you that were here many years ago may remember this room looking a little different. Recently, I guess in the last year, it's been renovated, and I'd like to do a shout out and another thank you to Representative Jeff Wardlaw for helping us acquire some one-time funds to do the renovation of this facility. And so I'm sure Representative's not here today. I know where he is and the work he's doing today. But if you see him, please thank him on behalf of UAM. So we have a lot of things going on with some capital campaigns for improving our Athletic Performance Center, as well as projects in this area, including something Dr. Blazier will share with you in a moment about some additional ag building renovations that we plan to do. There's many exciting things, but I'm so afraid I'm going to steal some of the comments that you're making. I'm going to stop at this point and let the people who really know what's going on at this institution have an opportunity to speak. So thank you for being here. I welcome all of you, and UAM is your home. Come back anytime. Thank you. Dr. Blazier.
Thank you, Dr. Doss. Well, it's a pleasure not just to have y'all at UAM, but here in Southeast Arkansas. I think it's extremely relevant to discussions about anything on a farm bill to be in Southeast Arkansas. If you summarize the revenues from farms and timber and combine those, it's actually Southeast Arkansas that is the major region in the state of Arkansas for producing those type of revenues. Being administrator over this College of Forestry, Ag, Natural Resources, I feel like it's a tremendous responsibility and a pleasure that we're able to provide the workforce that will enact things that occur in the Farm Bill. We're the only forestry school in the state of Arkansas, and that's a $6 billion industry. We also have our agriculture and natural resources, and those account for combined about $23 billion, or 20% of the Arkansas's economy when you take all those commodities combined. So we have a very big responsibility in our college to produce the workforce to serve that major industry. So our alumni are professionals and community leaders statewide, and they're out there acting on the Farm Bill and carrying out its initiatives. We have a lot of great resources within our college. Our faculty, like others at the other ag faculty at Fayetteville and Arkansas State, we have combined appointments with the University of Arkansas System Division of Agriculture. We're unique that we have a more natural resources focus here, and we're doing a lot of research and extension that is relevant, highly relevant to the Farm Bill. We're doing research on the management needs of the forests that are planted in conservation easements, and we see there's large areas throughout East Arkansas that are planted in those programs. They need management interventions to make sure they optimize the wildlife benefits that they were developed to provide. And one of our focal areas is on our waterfowl research, and that's an interesting attribute to focus on, because waterfowl need, across the landscape, they need healthy forests, they need agriculture, and they need water. So all of that extremely affected by what's accomplished with the Farm Bill.
So tell us about your students banding the...
Yes, this is, in fact, we're, just as a side note, we're live streaming this event right now through Zoom, and Dr. Osborne, our waterfowl professor, is out and about right now because this is banding season. The season is over, or the duck season's over, and they're about to fly north, so we're banding them heavily to monitor their movements throughout North America as they migrate back north. We're also attaching GPS receivers on their backs so that we can live monitor their movement patterns. And we know that due to shifts in forest health and forest composition that really need our research and management intervention, that there is the potential for duck populations to move away from the lower Mississippi Valley flyway. Arkansas is one of the top 5 duck flyways in the world, and in duck season, that's contributing about $1 million a day to the state economy. So it's a major quality of life issue and a major economic issue to make sure we sustain that. So we have our partnership, a private partnership with the Five Oaks Ag Research and Education Center that's really given our unit quite a bit of extra horsepower to pursue the research that's necessary to make sure those forests stay healthy and monitor the waterfowl populations to see how they respond as we do more interventions on that. So thank you for your question. We're also doing research that's relevant to the Farm Bill, that we're doing exploratory work on bringing new markets in for biomass, forest biomass, like for fuels, for new construction materials. We're doing research and outreach on soil health through cover crops and soil amendments like biochar. We actually even have a biochar production facility here in Monticello that we're working with. We have a new unit within our college, the Arkansas Center for Forest Business, and if I could get a show of hands by our ever-growing economists of that unit. Thank y'all. This was created in the last year's, or the 2022 legislative session now, or 21, and these are experts on a lot of issues that can be informative for Farm Bill development and other legislative development. There's experts on taxes and policies and how they affect ecological and economic sustainability. We're looking into how we can incentivize forest landowners in those easement programs to actively manage their forests. And they do a lot of analyses to help draw new industries into Arkansas. And one of the newest factoids that their unit generated that I found intriguing is that they did an analysis of what University of Arkansas at Monticello has meant to the economy of Southeast Arkansas and all of Arkansas. And when you look at what our students are generating in terms of increased earning power throughout a lifetime, through the operations of this university, that's generated a $270 million economic output for just Southeast Arkansas. It's $1.1 billion economic contribution of University of Arkansas at Monticello when you sum up those same factors there. So it's we're proud of what we're able to achieve here, and we're proud to have you here. And before we begin, I just wanted to point out one attribute of our building. Let's see, actually, before I get into that, this is, like Dr. Doss mentioned, part of a larger renovation effort. This was completed last year. We're working to renovate our greenhouse and a facility next door to this, and we're also in the middle of a fundraising campaign to have a privately funded new rodeo and livestock agriculture arena here on campus. Again, Southeast Arkansas is so important in agriculture. We want to be a seat of where folks can come and learn more and recreate more agriculturally related. But the feature I wanted to draw you before we begin is this facility is built to bring livestock right into the classroom. Those bay doors will open, and we can tether them to the wall right here. So maybe relevant to today's discussion, if there is an accrual of manure in this facility, we're set up to hose it down right there behind you. So without further ado, I will call us to order. All right. So maybe best to make, from here on, do y'all introduce yourselves from left to right here, or do we just get right into it?
Let's get right into it.
All right, there we go.
Well, thank you. Is it on now? Yes. Okay, good. Thank all of you all so much for being here, especially in a kind of a rush fashion. We would never really know our schedules in Congress until things kind of gel out. But one of the things that I want to get done, I always talk about the fact that the answers to our problems need to come from the ground up. And so that's what this is all about. This is a Senate listening session from the Ag Committee in the Senate. I've got a bunch of staffers here. Where are you? Stand up and tell them what you do. And you need to be nice to these people. They're the ones that do all the work.
Hi everyone, Harley Esser. I work for the Senator handling crop insurance, commodity programs, and disaster programs. Originally from Missouri, so excited to be here and hear what y'all have to say.
Scott Davis, Senator for State Ag Liaison, and he's stuff our office.
Good morning everyone, I'm Mason Kelly. I work as the Senator on his Ag Committee staff in D.C., but I'm from Arkansas, from now at home in Richmond, so good to be with you this morning.
I'm John Newton, I'm the Chief Economist. Shane Zimmerson, I'm at Senator's El Dorado office.
Very good. And again, a special thanks to the university for allowing us to do this here and all that you do from an ag standpoint, really every other standpoint. You do a tremendous job. This is a wonderful institution, and we do appreciate all of the hard work. I'm so pleased to have one of my running buddies with me, Bruce Westerman. You know, Bruce is interesting. Bruce is, he not only represents you in the 4th District, but he represents the state regarding forestry. And he not only represents the state, he represents the Republican side of things. He is the guy in forestry. But he not only represents the Republican side, but to his credit, he really has become the guy in Congress that is the guy, the go-to guy in forestry. And that's from a member standpoint. It's also from an industry standpoint. He's a guy that truly does understand what's going on and doing a great job. There's a lot of, and we'll talk more about this in a little bit, but there's a lot of potential for forestry right now with our forest burning up. Even some of our leftist folks, realize that we've got to take care of our forests or we're going to lose them. And like I say, we'll get Bruce to talk more about that. There's a lot of opportunity, and then the climate cycle is so very good, the best in agriculture. So lots of opportunities in that way. So we're here to listen. We're going to make this very, very informal. We've got some folks up here that we want to hear from officially in the sense that, with specific topics that we want to know about. But after we get done visiting with them for a little bit, then I'm going to turn it open. Bruce and I are going to turn it open to the audience. And anybody here, if you've got a question or a comment about what's going on, start thinking about it now, because you're going to have that opportunity. Like I said, the key to this is again, solving our problems from the bottom up. You all are out there fighting the battles. As you know, we're working really hard to get a farm bill passed. The current Farm Bill runs out on September 31st. And so between now and then, we're having these listening sessions. We're having formal hearings in the Senate, both at the full committee, and then we'll also have it at the subcommittee level, gathering information as we go forward. As we write this Farm Bill, it's very different than, times are very different than when we wrote the last Farm Bill. We thought times were kind of rocky then. There's no comparison now. So we've got these generational things going on with the high input cost, all of the problems, high interest rates, the list goes on and on. Supply chain issues, all of the things that you all have been having to deal with, and have done your best and actually dealt. But we want to see how we can help, how we can make things run smoother. Agriculture is so very important. Agriculture is about our farm community. It's also about the nutrition aspect, but it's all about rural America. In Arkansas, we've got 75 counties, 53 of them lost population. You start losing those turnback dollars, you don't have a whole lot to begin with. It makes it very difficult. Agriculture is the sustaining force. So anything we can do to support not only the farm community, but agriculture in general. And as you know, there's a lot of stuff in the Farm Bill that has to do with just supporting rural America through broadband, through water. The list goes on and on. So those are the things that we're going to be talking about. I'm very optimistic. I think that Congress wants to get a Farm Bill done. They know how important this is. My goal is to have a better run of it than the last Farm Bill that we did. Senator Roberts, Senator Stabenow passed a Farm Bill with a record number of votes. I think they had 86, 87 votes in the Senate. That's a big deal. You could say who's for Mother's Day, and the ratio wouldn't be a whole lot more than that. I think there was only 20 dissenting votes in the House. So again, we because of your hard work, we've worked hard to make sure that members of Congress understand how important this is, how important it is to the general public. So, Bruce, tell us a little bit about what you're working on.
Well, thank you, Senator Boozman. It's always good to be back at UAM, back in Monticello and Drew County. And when you get invited to a Senate Ag listening session, you just say what time I will be there. So it's great to be here representing the House and to be here with my good friend Senator John Boozman, who is he does so much good for the state back in D.C. and I think he's the most under-recognized member of Congress in the effectiveness of things, and he gets stuff done. If I run into a roadblock, it's like I got my lifeline. I call Senator Boozman and say, hey, what can we do here? And he works it out, and he does it always with a smile on his face. So thank you, Senator, for doing this listening tour and for letting me be part of it. Dr. Doss, good to see you again. I didn't realize that UAM was actually an institution when Joe Don Greenwood went to college, but everybody claims Joe Don, and good to see you, my friend. It's what better way to celebrate National FFA Week than to talk about the Farm Bill and to do it in a place that is what I kind of think of as a merger of agriculture in Arkansas. You've got forestry, you've got row crops, you've got ranching and poultry, everything in a small radius from Monticello. When you think of agriculture in Arkansas, is right here. So you should be able to get some good input, Senator, and with the Senator serving as the ranking member on the Agriculture Committee, I can tell you that Arkansas is well positioned as we put the Farm Bill together. And also on the House side, we've got Rick Crawford, who's got very high seniority on the House Ag Committee, and G.T. Thompson, who chairs the House Ag Committee, is a personal friend of mine and the senators, and he will do the right thing, and I'm very excited about this opportunity with the Farm Bill. I'm on the Natural Resources Committee, which has a lot of relationship with the Agriculture Committee. And one thing that our committee has jurisdiction over is Western water. And when you talk about agriculture, the Central Valley of California, you may wonder what does that have to do with Arkansas, but about 80 to 90% of the fruits, nuts, and vegetables, and I'm not talking about people, I'm talking about actual products, come from the Central Valley of California.
Both.
And last summer they had 600,000 acres of land lay fallow because there wasn't enough water in California. So if you look around Arkansas, one thing we've got, we're very, very blessed with is water. We still need to do a good job of conservation with it and taking care of it. And I've talked to the governor about this, but I think there's huge opportunities for more specialty crops in Arkansas. And when you talk to retailers, they would rather see all that vast amount of produce that's produced in California dispersed more evenly across the country so you can get it to market quicker. And I know, there's tomato farming not too far from here. We do a lot with in the northern part of my district with fruits that you might not realize. If you eat a blackberry that comes from a grocery store, it was very, very likely came from a strain from Clarksville, Arkansas, where they do blackberry research. And I think those are areas where Arkansas can really grow, and I want to be able to try to help as we put the farm bill together in looking for places to have more valuable crops. I could talk about forestry a long time, but I can tell you I'm very bullish on forestry, and I'm very bullish on Arkansas forestry. We've done a good job managing our forest here. Biochar was mentioned. It's do you realize there was more carbon sequestered with biochar last year than there was with carbon capture and sequestration? And I've actually got a bill called the Biochar Act that we'll run that as a standalone bill out of the Resources Committee, and if we can't get it passed on a standalone, that's something we'll be trying to include in the farm bill, as well as feral hog control and a lot of the conservation programs. So a lot to talk about, and I've already talked too long, so I'm going to yield back, Senator. Thank you for letting me be here.
No, thank you so much. And one of the real joys of being on the Agriculture Committee, it's not about Democrats and Republicans. There's not a lot of infighting that way at all. It's about regions of the country. Southern agriculture is different than the I's, Illinois, Iowa, Indiana. We've got different needs. The Great Plains are different. John Hoven, who's chair or is the ranking member on the Ag Appropriations, is a dear friend. We'll get him to Arkansas in the not too distant future. But again, his needs being in North Dakota, South Dakota, they're very different than here. California, as Bruce mentioned, is different. They can grow anything. They export a tremendous amount of stuff. We export a tremendous amount of stuff, and we need to constantly be looking for new markets. And there's a lot of things that we can do to foster increase in the Farm Bill as we go forward in that regard. So it's about regions of the country, and the other thing is it's about commodities. Bruce mentioned the specialty crops. Cotton's very different than rice and peanuts and all of the other, we've got all of these different commodities that require different things. So the key is it's not a one-size-fits-all. It's molding all of that together and working hard, and certainly you all are going to be a big part of that. We're blessed in Arkansas that we do produce so much stuff, and you're kind of a microcosm of the country, which is a good thing to do. So let's hear from the folks that we have here today, and I think we're going to start out with Jim Whitaker. Jim, why don't you introduce yourself, tell them what you do. Most of them know you, and then we'll go from there.
Good morning. Thank you, Senator Boozman, for the opportunity to be here today and testify on the behalf of USA Rice and Arkansas Rice Federation. My name is Jim Whitaker. I'm a fifth-generation farmer. I farm with my brother Sam, our two wives, and our 4 children just outside of McGee in the McGee-Dermott area. Now, a little bit of trivia. I met my wife in the chair Joe Minster's sitting in about 33 years ago. And sometimes I'm embarrassed to say I didn't get the degree, but I got the girl. And that's been the best thing I ever got. So, first and foremost, Senator, I want to thank you for leading the charge with the provide the assistance to rice farmers. The additional funding provided through the Omnibus Appropriations Bill was critical to many rice farmers, including myself. Rice was not as fortunate as other crops. As commodities went up, had a large run-up in prices, it didn't affect rice the way it did other commodities. We gained price at the offset of the erosion of the PLC program. Rice is more vulnerable to other crops due to rising fuel costs, fertilizer, and the result of the 2022 rice crop would have been a wreck if it had not been for the assistance Congress provided. We recorded the lowest planted acres in the United States last year, lowest in 40 years. This is threatening critical infrastructure in rural communities all over the United States. Senator Boozman, we have no greater champion than you. I want to thank you for what you've done for Arkansas, for what you've done for rice. I also want to commit to providing you any assistance I can with help for the Farm Bill coming up. We think standing by the nation's critical rice industry is a worthy investment. So Americans are realizing food security is national security. And on average, every rice farmer commits $1 million to the local economy while hiring 6 employees. Without sustaining the industry, rural America, especially eastern Arkansas, is going to suffer the most. We're the largest rice growing state. We're going to suffer the most. Title I of the Farm Bill, specifically Price Loss Coverage Program, is really our true safety net and critically important because it levels the playing field by highly subsidized global competitors. U.S. farm families cannot compete on such a distorted world market. Countries such as India and others are subsidizing their farmers to a level that make world prices too low. Payment limitations also need to reflect the growing size and risk of family farms. The days of 40 acres and a mule are outdated. We're way past that. The risk farm families are taking is greater than it's ever been. The rice industry prides itself on conservation. Too many farmers can't afford to commit to conservation practices without Title I. We believe Congress should prioritize working lands like CSP, EQIP over set-aside programs, as the problems associated with too much food is better than food scarcity. Further, conservation programs cannot be a one-size-fits-all. USA Rice has had extraordinary success with the Stewardship Partnership with Ducks Unlimited, the Regional Conservation Partnership Program, and Congress should examine these public, almost private partnerships at the lowering administration barriers and implementation cost. The Market Assistance Programs and the Farm Market Development Program has helped U.S. rice industry. We have proven track record with over 30 overseas markets. USA Rice has been intentional over the past years to improve crop insurance. Crop insurance and PLC are truly our only safety nets that we have. I want to thank you for the leadership in agriculture issues in Congress, the entire Senate Ag Committee. I want to thank you for being our champion, and thank you for improved farm bill for our families and our nation's future.
Thank you very much. Wes?
Well, good morning. Jim's obviously a lot more polished than I am. This is my first go-round on something like this, so I would like to thank everybody for this opportunity. Thank you all for this opportunity. My wife and I farm soybeans, cotton, and corn just east of here in DeShay County, over close to the Mississippi River. I've been a full-time farmer since 2016. I had a career with the Cooperative Extension Service for 14 years prior to that. My wife is she's been a full-time farmer since 1996 when she graduated from UAM here. Some of the acres that we farm, we've been farming, my wife's family's been farming for over 80 years. We have benefited from some of the conservation component of the current Farm Bill through the CSP and the EQIP programs. The only thing I'd like to say regarding the conservation component is that I would like to see its continued funding, echoing what Jim said. We'd really like to see increases in those funding so more acres can be enrolled in some of those conservation programs. We've also benefited somewhat from the ARC PLC components of the current Farm Bill, so I think those programs should also be continued. But I also think reference prices used in those may need to be reevaluated because of the increase in input costs, drastic increases in input costs that we've been seeing the last couple of seasons. The crop insurance component of the current Farm Bill is where I think most of the work needs to be focused on, or a lot of work needs to be focused on in the new Farm Bill, so that we have a crop insurance program that works for everybody. I'll give a specific example as to what I mean by that. We buy a multi-peril policy every year for coverage with the expectation that if we have a major event on our farm, we'll be covered for at least some of that loss. We also understand that crop insurance is not meant to make us whole following a major event, but it should at least help soften the blow. We had a major event during the 2 floods of 2021 in Deshay County. We lost nearly half of our soybean production that year. We didn't put a combine in 900 acres of soybeans. And the yield on the soybeans that we actually did harvest were drastically reduced because of the flood events. We received absolutely nothing from our multi-peril policy on insurance. The only help we received was through a replant policy that was an additional expense, and the only way we could receive that is to actually replant. And we replanted in July, and for those people that know anything about replanting soybeans in July in Arkansas, that's a recipe for terrible yield potential. But in order to get that replant policy help, we had to replant. On top of that, some of the disaster relief payments that were released following the flood events were tied to crop insurance settlements, which we didn't have any crop insurance settlements, so we were not eligible for the disaster relief payments either. We probably could have bought up a insurance policy that would have covered us during that flood event, but it likely would have been more expensive than what we could afford. And I'll give you an example. We ran some monies, and Jeffrey Hall's on this committee, on this panel as well, and we ran some numbers to compare a price comparison for the same policy in Deshay County, Arkansas, and compared that policy to a county in Illinois. I believe it was McLean County, Illinois. For the same policy, the premium per acre is 5.5 times higher in Deshay County than it is in McLean County, Illinois. And I think that is where we need to have some conversation about crop insurance. Again, thank you for the opportunity to speak, and that's my statement.
Jason.
I'm currently serving on the Ag Council of Arkansas Executive Committee. I'm on the Corn and Sorghum Research Promotion Board, which we had a meeting in Jackson Port just last night that I came back from. Vice Chair, the Board of Directors at Delta Peanut, and a producer delegate on National Cotton Council. I'm a 6th-generation farmer in Arkansas and a member of many ag organizations. I want to thank you, Senator Boozman, on behalf of our fellow farmers and communities that depend on our healthy ag communities. We know we have a leader and friend in Senator Boozman that we can count on. You have a great staff, and we know your team and entire Arkansas delegation and all our elected officials understand the importance of agriculture to our state and nation. We know there's much work to be done. We rely on the entire state banding together to strengthen our nation's ability to maintain a safe, abundant, and affordable supply of food and fiber. I know you and your staff have a challenging year ahead with all the work and negotiations for establishing a new farm bill. The last couple of years, we've relied heavily on the farm bill and especially the ad hoc assistance, such as the MFP, the WIP Plus, CFAP, PPP, ERP. They have been critical to keep many farms afloat. Farming dynamics have changed through the trade war, pandemic, natural disasters, supply chain disruptions, which only seems to be getting worse, geopolitical battles, and other unforeseen challenges. The Farm Bill's safety net is falling short of providing sufficient support for farmers, hence the need of all the ad hoc assistance that we needed to get just to keep farming. It's my hope that we strengthen the new Farm Bill to reflect these recent experiences and lessons learned to build in these amounts into the new Farm Bill, so relying so heavily on the ad hoc programs, while maintaining flexibility on the use of funds to adopt to future emergencies that may occur. Ways of achieving this in updating price support programs by increasing reference prices to the PLC, ARC, higher payment limitations, and fewer eligibility requirements in a new Farm Bill. Diving down on the farm level for a moment, costs have escalated unprecedented levels with only modest gains in commodities. Equipment prices have soared and parts inventories have diminished. Wait times for parts can take up to weeks to months, which we all know we have short windows of opportunity in farming, and so that can be very impactful on our economy at the end of the year. Labor strategies are a real problem, and the cost to obtain labor is much higher than pre-pandemic. These are just some examples of what producers are dealing with and why we needed the ad hoc programs and need to make changes for a more permanent solution by increasing the commodity reference prices and marketing loan assistance prices in a new bill. Another point of emphasis is higher payment limits. As we all know, fewer people are moving back to our rural communities to farm, and many of when they get out of farm or retire, are being forced out because of the economic situation we're in, is falling on the existing farmers to pick up those acres. So it's pushing us with more acres, and the limited amount of, the limitations are a major factor as we grow our acres moving forward. I'd like to thank you again, Senator Boozman and your staff, for all your hard work, and on behalf of Arkansas Agriculture, thank you for the opportunity to speak before you today.
Thank you. Grant.
I'm the odd man out. One in forestry, I guess.
Well, you've got a big backup here sitting to my right, so.
I have seen him get real excited about when I speak, so a lot of times he'll just shake his head and close it down. Now, I started on this campus probably in '79. I recruited a young lady to come back here in '80, and we've never left this campus. Been here for, I guess, 40-some years now. Been married to her for 38. She still works here full-time, 37 years, I think. But I'm going to read some of this because it's got a lot of stats in it. Ranking Member Boozman, Chancellor Doss, Dr. Blazer, Congressman Westerman, thank you once again for hosting this today. The U.S. has approximately 823 million acres of forest and woodlands, over a third of the nation's landscape. More than half of that land is privately owned, around 1/5 is federally owned or controlled. These nationalized lands provide an opportunity for the timber industry and the federal government to work together, which I'll address later on. You might be asking yourself why forestry is represented on this panel. Timber is a crop that accounts for 19 million acres, 56% of Arkansas. The top 5 traditionally recognized crops, rice, cotton, wheat, soybeans, and corn account for 6.2 million acres in Arkansas. The forest product industry employs 28,000 people, or 28,000 Arkansans, mostly in rural areas. The industry leads in southern states and only falls to third in impact for the U.S. states. Total economic impact of the industry is $6.5 billion with a payroll of $1.7 billion. Outside of economical impacts, forest management is essential to mitigating climate change, preventing soil erosion, protecting our air quality, providing habitats for our animals and watershed. The most important thing that our forest and our forest industry is we need new markets. With 95% of our current consumers outside of the U.S., I think the new Farm Bill presents a great opportunity for us to fund more research on how our industry can expand current markets, establish new markets, and identify the international wood product needs that our industry stands ready to meet. In addition, research. I hope we can also look at ways to encourage the USDA and the Foreign Ag Service to prioritize our nation's timber inventory as they look to ways to increase trade for our global markets. American farmers and ranchers they help feed the world, and American foresters and industry can also supply the world with our wood products. New markets would mean new meals, new jobs, new economic growth in our country's managed forestry. Just like here in Monticello, in our towns and communities, we in South Arkansas, the overall GDP is probably 60%. There's a few things and I don't know how everything works out at the federal level with the USDA and stuff, but the Foreign Ag Service. But another thing that we have talked about is, and I'm sure Congressman Westerman, FIA, the forest inventory, if we could look at something on the economic side of that, instead of the Forest Service and them doing inventory analysis, can we do economic analysis, and can we put that in the Farm Bill somehow? But that is one thing that we definitely need. We're growing about 23 million more tons a year than what we're harvesting, and without new markets, we're kind of dead in the water. And we have the great opportunity to increase the nation's and the state and our local GDPs. Thank you.
No, thank you. Okay, jump in there.
Thank you, Senator Boozman,
No,
for
thank you
scheduling
for being
this
here.
Farm Bill listening session, and thank you to the University of Arkansas at Monticello for hosting us. And Congressman Westerman, thanks for joining us this morning. My name is Jeffrey Hall, and I'm a crop insurance agent contracted with Sylvia's Crop Insurance, which is the largest crop insurance agency in the country. I also have a cow-calf operation outside of Little Rock. I have worked on a number of farm bills in my previous life as a lobbyist for Arkansas Farm Bureau. So crop insurance goes hand in hand with my background in the federal policy created with the farm bills. With agriculture being the #1 industry in Arkansas, it is vital for farmers to mitigate their risk and protect themselves from weather and market declines. The 2012 Farm Bill created a shift away from direct farm support and enhanced crop insurance, moving Southern farmers' focus to increase their participation to the federal crop insurance system. Since then, farmers across Arkansas and the Mid-South has continued to use crop insurance and slowly began buying a higher level of multi-peril crop insurance, as well as start looking at other products to manage farming risk, such as whole farm, margin protection, stacks, supplemental coverage option, enhanced coverage option, etc. As diverse as farming operations are in the Mid-South and throughout the Midwest, it is amazing to me that the multi-peril crop insurance, whether you select RP, which is a revenue protection, or YP, yield protection, offers a level of coverage for all farmers in all regions. Here in Arkansas, a wet spring is way worse than a dry summer. So multi-peril crop insurance prevent planting indemnities to assist through those wet springs, compared to a dry summer, which negatively impacts the non-irrigated crops in the Midwest, all being assisted by one product used differently. But agriculture being as diverse as it is within regions, more is needed. As the cotton industry shifted away from direct support and moving towards crop insurance area plan called STAX with an 80% subsidy, and then Rice Federation creating the margin protection product, which I have seen both add dollars to operations in years of price decline. Though I feel like rice margin protection should have a higher subsidy rate similar to the area plan in cotton STAX. With this increased subsidy, as well as a policy change allowing farmers to try the margin protection and participate by the type of rice acres, whether it's long grain or medium grain, would increase the participation of the product. These area plans, along with supplemental coverage option, enhanced coverage option, offers a level of price protection. But the problem I see in these area products, as well as the multi-peril crop insurance, is the complexity of these and the farmer understanding of how these products work in managing their risk. Not everyone has the software to show historical performance of each of these products, which we use daily to help assist customers to decide which product is best to manage their risk. The other problem I see is what Wes mentioned or alluded to at the end of his comments, and that's the premium cost that Mid-South producers see. There's no comparison of cost between regions. A Midwest farmer usually purchases an 80 or 85% coverage level of multi-peril crop insurance. That is cheaper than the Arkansas farmers can purchase a 50% level coverage. I feel this is a cause of the historical lack of crop insurance participation here in the Mid-South over the 20-year period. One solution is to use a STAX as a model of an area crop insurance top band shallow loss coverage with an 80% subsidy and open that product up to other crops. This would provide affordable shallow loss price protection product for Arkansas farmers. So with that, I appreciate my time here to speak on this panel. Thank you, Senator Boozman. Thank you, Congressman Westerman, and members of the audience. I look forward to participating in any questions that may have.
Thank you, Jeffrey. Sammy.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Senator, Congressman. Pleasure to be here and bring rural communities to the table. I'm going to take a little bit different approach. It's not going to be directly to specifics of the Farm Bill, but how the Farm Bill impacts our rural communities. There's not a retail business in our communities that's not impacted by forestry, poultry, row crop, from feed and seed to fertilizer to the nail shop. They're all impacted by agriculture. Those dollars are generated and driven into our communities through agriculture. You know, the only thing that we tip into is tourism occasionally as a mechanism to generate revenue. But as input costs go up, interest rates go up, the struggle with trying to find labor that's willing to work, that can pass a drug test, the struggles of H-2A visas is increasingly getting more difficult for the farmers each and every year. We see a rise in crime in our communities. I mean, it all trickles back to each and every one of our homes, our cities, our towns, our regions in rural America, rural Arkansas. And with a strong Farm Bill that supports the farmers, we will see that hopefully return back to what we once saw years ago. But right now, it's difficult. I mean, I'm a fourth generation farm family. I struggle to find folks to work. I'm blessed to have some employees that have been with us for 30 and 40 years, but they're getting old. And to go out and find somebody to replace them, it's difficult. It's difficult for farmers with the input cost, with, as I said earlier, implements, tractors, everything has gone through the roof. You sit on the sidelines for 2 months waiting on a part that you can't find anywhere in the country. It has to be imported. those struggles are real. And far as communities, it impacts us whether we realize it or not. But I'd like to say, I want to thank you for the opportunity to come here and sit down. You mentioned about 52 of the 75 counties losing population. Many rural communities are struggling with the last census. My community, our LMI changed so drastically that we're ineligible for some of those dollars that are out there for rural communities in other parts of the country. And I don't think that our population and our LMI has changed that drastically. But as the census takers didn't get responses and they go to the door and people don't answer the door, that's automatically considered off the record for LMI. It's just another house that's above and beyond that. So that really, really impacts us. I don't know that we can go back and fix that. There are ways to go back and reassess your communities through surveys, but that's very, very difficult for some communities. And if they don't get the response, it could actually hurt them even worse. So, but privileged to be here. Thank you for the opportunity. Look forward to any questions as we close.
Thank you, Sammy. Mark?
Thank you, Senator Boozman, Congressman Westerman, for being here and allowing me to participate in this panel. My name is Mark Tyner. I'm a lender with Union Bank here in Monticello. I've been with the bank going on 24 years. I've been in agricultural lending for about 20 plus years of that. I'm involved with the timber industry with equipment loans to our logging contractors, land purchases. We also do production loans for row crop farmers, equipment loans for row crop farmers, produce farmers as well, cattle farmers as well. I'm a native of Monticello. I'm a 1985 graduate of UAM, and I'm also a member of the Monticello City Council. From a lending standpoint, some of the challenges that we see for our farmers, and I'm going to address just 4 quick topics that I'd like to address regarding the Farm Bill and some things that we see in lending. Today's environment, we talk about the program payments, the PLC, the ARC payments, and some of the panelists also mentioned this. In today's environment with interest rates up, input costs up, that price that we're recognizing as that price point is really not enough. It needs to be some other factor. When beans were $10 and corn was $4, rice is $4 or $5, cotton's 50 or 60 cents, then we needed that price point made it efficient for the farmer to be profitable, and it helped them in making debt service payments, input payments. So I think it's important that we recognize where that price needs to be in relationship to what those input costs are. This year, what I understand with urea prices being down, diesel prices being down, which is a large input cost for a farmer, that may help it a little bit. But when you're paying $5 for diesel, $1,000 for urea, and you're getting $15 beans or $13 beans may sound good, but at the end of the day, it's really not. So we would like to see those program payment, those numbers for those commodity prices to be elevated to help the farmer. We also think that crop insurance needs to be continued. It needs to be a forefront in the Farm Bill. Make it affordable, make it effective, that the farmer can, when they purchase a policy, that they feel comfortable that if Mother Nature has an event that affects them, that they can feel confident that they're going to get paid and be good utilization of the premium that they pay. One of the things is that somebody also mentioned is, we've got an aging farmer population. There's going to be a turnover where we're going to have new farmers, younger farmers coming in. And as a banker, we're going to require a guarantee. For example, a poultry farm. Right now, you've got to have a minimum of 4 houses, I believe, in a poultry operation to get started. That's $2.5 to $3 million. Well, the guarantee program is set at like $1.8 million, I think, with FSA. we need those increases to allow those farmers to get in, to jump in, get involved in it, and get into the industry and start farming. We would say probably a minimum of $3 million on the guarantee program to allow for new farmers to get involved. Likewise with a row crop farmer. We're going to ask, as new farmers come in, if they're not multi-generational descendants from that, then they're going to need assistance in getting into that. And it's not cheap. I mean, to make it worth your while to get into farming, these guys that actually farm, it probably needs to be a minimum of 2,000 plus acres to really make it worth your while to get into it. Well, you got to have combine, you got to have tractor, you got to have implements, and then your inputs and your operating load. So likewise, we would think that that $3 million would be a good minimum for or a good basis for FSA guaranteed loan programs. We mentioned the labor, and unfortunately, it is very difficult for our farmers and our loggers to find help. I don't think I have a farmer that does not have some type of foreign labor to help through H-2A type labor, whether it be from Mexico or from South Africa, to come in to help them. Unfortunately, our current people in the United States don't want to work. They don't want to get their hands dirty. It's too easy to get free money and not have to work. So I think those programs for labor, we need immigration reform to make it easier for people who want to come to the country and work. But we got to have it legal, and we got to have it concise. I also think that we need to streamline those efforts to make it easier to get those people into the country. I know there's a process that we have to go through to make sure that we want them here, but we need to streamline that and expedite that. FSA is a great tool for our farmers, and we have a great relationship, the banks do, or we do, with our local agencies. But when it comes time to calculating PLC payments and getting all of that program in place, that is really if you've never done the calculation, we calculate that and include that in our cash flows if they qualify. And to calculate a PLC payment is really a pretty extensive deal. You got to take your base acreage of your farm number, you get a percent of that, but to calculate that is pretty difficult. I think that needs to be streamlined. I'm not too sure that those base acres and those yields that they use for that should be increased. I mean, some of those yields that they're using are from yields from 30, 40, 50 years ago. Do we use an average yield from that number? No. Should we take a more recent yield to calculate? So if I've got a farm and I'm raising soybeans, but that farm that I'm farming on does not have a soybean basis, then I don't think I qualify for a PLC payment. And if it do, then that number that they're basing your yield on to calculate that payment amount is very, very low. So I think we need to reevaluate how we calculate that PLC payment for the farmers. We're here for them. It is the backbone of this country. Agriculture is. Timber is the backbone of the area here in southeast Arkansas. Union Bank is heavily entrenched in helping and working with those people in that industries, and we want to continue that, but there are some issues that we think could help from a banking standpoint to allow us to help our customers in being profitable and obtaining all the opportunities that they can.
Well, thank all of you. Again, that's very helpful, pointing out some of the challenges that we have in rural America that we need to work on in the new Farm Bill. Tell me, Mark, with the current ARC PLC crop insurance payments, high interest rates the way they are now, the regulatory atmosphere that you have to deal with, how's that going to affect your ability to actually give our farm community the loans that they need going forward?
Well, as you just said, Senator, everything is elevated through inflation. Interest rates are, prime today is 7.75% with anticipation of at least a 25, if not a 50 basis point bump next month. So that makes prime interest rate 8 to 8.5%, and that's where we fund our loans off of.
As compared to what was it a couple years ago?
A couple of years ago, even prior to the COVID pandemic, prime was 5%, 4 to 5%, ranging however it went. So you've had a doubling in interest rates over the last, 2 or 3 years. Equipment prices go up, input costs go up, but just the need for the farmer to have a security that they'll have the support from the government or from our country